Grubskin here, and it's time for Sega Genesis versus Super Nintendo. Yeah. Or Super Nintendo versus Sega Genesis. Either way you want to look at it, well, it's the same fucking thing, right? Now, we've done this before, where we compare games that came out for both systems, like RoboCop versus Terminator, right? Or we compared the Chester Cheetah game, came out for both systems, right? And we also compared King of the Monsters 2, came out on the Sega Genesis, and the Super Nintendo, and they were different games, right? And we're going to do more of this in the future, right? Jurassic Park came out for both systems. We're going to compare those games. And Alien 3 also came out for both systems. Very different games, but today we are talking about the best of the best versus the best of the best, right? We're going to talk about the best games on the Super Nintendo versus the best games on the Sega Genesis, right? Like Super Mario versus Sonic, Vector Man versus Metroid, and Legend of Zelda versus Landstalker? Legend of Zelda kind of is in a class by itself. I mean, seriously, but yeah. I mean, when comparing fucking the two fucking systems, one of the things that always comes into mind when I'm looking at games for the Super Nintendo is that they're really expensive. You know what I mean? I mean, Sega Genesis games are just cheaper to get, you know? Much less expensive. I mean, the sad thing is, I've only got 4 of my top 5 favorite games on the Super Nintendo. Demon's Crest, I am never gonna fucking get. Ever, right? Because how much is it going for right now? Jesus Christ! Holy shit, that's way too fucking expensive. Get the fuck out of here, god damn it. Why is Super Nintendo games so expensive, you know? And of my fucking top 4, most of them go for at least 20 bucks, you know? Star Fox is probably the cheapest. Legend of Zelda goes for like 30 bucks. I've seen Yoshi's Island going for like 40 bucks. Super Metroid goes for like 50 bucks. These games are way too fucking expensive, you know? Yeah, well, I mean, on the Sega Genesis, there are expensive games there, but they're few and far between. There's only a few games on the Sega Genesis so expensive I'm never gonna fucking bother getting them. Like, the Splatterhouse games, and like Moonwalker. Moonwalker's way too expensive. It's really not fucking worth it at all. But yeah, I mean, I've got a top 5 great fucking games on the Super Nintendo. They're fucking great. Really, seriously, they are. But I struggle to put together a top 10, you know? I mean, like, what other games are there? Like, Donkey Kong Country? That game's cool. Spawn is pretty badass, yeah. And, Killer Instinct. That's a cool fucking game. Hell yeah. But, you know, yeah, I'm not a big fan of role-playing games, you know, RPGs. And Super Nintendo's got quite a few of them, like Final Fantasy and Secret of Mana. Just not a big fan of those. But there are those games on the Sega Genesis too, like Phantasy Star and Shining in the Darkness, but, like, you know, I'm not a big fan of those kind of games. Legend of Zelda is different. It's more of an adventure game, you know? You're not actually doing turn-based attacks and stuff like that. You're actually just running up to shit and slashing it with a sword and shit. But it's different, you know? It's different. Different, right? Yeah, I mean, there's some great games on the Super Nintendo, absolutely. Right, like Total Carnage. It's a great game. It's a sequel to Smash TV. Smash TV came out on the Sega Genesis, but Total Carnage only came out on the Super Nintendo, right? So, I mean, it's a good reason for me to have a Super Nintendo. I'm glad I got the Super Nintendo and plenty of games for it, right? But I prefer the Sega Genesis. I really do. You know me, I'm the Sega Genesis geek. And so maybe I'm a little biased towards the Sega Genesis, but fact is, there's just more games on the Sega Genesis I really like, right? And next time, we're going to talk about my favorite games on the Sega Genesis, right? We're going to do a top 20 of my favorite games on the Sega Genesis, right? Hell yeah! So, get excited about that. Anyway, till fucking then, keep it real.